talk a little bit about the reason why we're all here. At first, I was going to share like 15 million statistics about homeless LGBT youth, and I was going to tell you all the different ways that you could help out. But then I thought, people feel so far removed from numbers, and they want personal connection. Hi, my name is Matthew Johnson Harris, and I was a homeless LGBT youth. I grew up in a very dysfunctional household, extremely dysfunctional. I have 7 siblings. All of us have different daddies, every different mamas, just that's stereotypical family that you would think of. I grew up around drugs, abuse, and extreme homophobia, extreme homophobia. When I was 14 years old, I'll never forget when my mom brought me to school, and before I went into school, she played me a 15-minute sermon on a cassette tape. I aged myself a little bit, but on a cassette tape, and it said basically how if I was gonna choose to be a homosexual, I was choosing to go to hell. And though I wasn't technically homeless until I was 19, you can count that at 14 years old as technically being homeless, right? I didn't feel welcome in my home, and I saw education as a way out. One of my really, really great friends, Stephanie Umo, was a year older than me, and she went to the Boston Conservatory of Music for musical theater. And I said, girl, you can go to college for singing and dancing? That is my way out. I can do that. Because grades were, ooh, but I can do that. And so I did. I basically followed her. Freshman year was phenomenal. It was great. I made a lot of friends. Some of them are here. And then I will never forget the day, October 18th. I remember this because it was also the same day that Beyonce's Single Lady video dropped. So I feel like the universe stopped, and then God said, I'm gonna give you this because you're gonna need it. But October 18th, 2008, I was sitting in an acting class, and I was told to go down to the financial aid office. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, everything's in order. So I go down there, and I'm told basically that one of the companies that was financing my loan went out of business, and I was going to either have to figure out how I was gonna get $20,000, or I needed to be out of the dorms and out of school, and I had 7 days. So I kid you not, I got on the phone, and I called my dad first, and he gets on the phone and says, Matthew, I'm sorry, I can't help you. The exact same day I got kicked out of school, my brother was expelled from Tulsa, Oklahoma School District for bringing a gun into school for gang activity. So the focus was primarily on him. I had worked 2 jobs to send myself to college. So within 7 days, I spread up all of my stuff between different housing. So I had some upperclassmen that I really were cool with, so I put some of my stuff there. I hid a lot of my stuff under Bobby's bed because we were roommates in the dorms, so I put a lot of stuff under his bed. And for the next year, I either spent the nights illegally staying in Bobby's dorm room, walking the streets of Boston all night, purposely going to the club, hoping that I would meet someone so I could have somewhere to sleep, eating apples and cookies that Bobby would get from the cafeteria. And one day I'd have 2 cookies, and that's all I could eat. Some days I'd have 3 apples, and that was what I had to eat. And during that whole period, I lied. People would ask me what I was doing next, and I would say I'm coming back to school. And a part of me really believed that, but because I was young and I was naive, for some reason I didn't realize that $50,000 isn't like a little bit of money. That's like people's annual income. But in my mind, I knew that I was gonna work these 2 jobs, and it was all gonna work out, and I was gonna end up going back to school. I ended up having 3 jobs, and I was still homeless, and I realized that there was no way I was gonna get to $50,000. So how about we just get an apartment? After a year of being homeless, that summer, me and Bobby moved into our first apartment, and I'll never forget having a bed, a television, and a couch that someone gave us, and feeling like I was a king. I felt like I was a king. Well, after the year of homelessness, I started having what I thought was mini heart attacks. Like I would pass out like at a drop of a hat, and my chest just always felt like it was gonna just explode. And I didn't know what it was. Boston wasn't serving me, so I said, let's go to New York City. Took myself to New York City, And even though I was seemingly happy and I was going to this awesome banging church and I was doing all this really cool stuff, the heart attacks didn't stop. Like, it felt like I was literally dying. And it all came to a head. I was on a New York City subway, and I just remember standing there. And then the next thing I know, I remember waking up to chaos. I was out on the ground, and I was shaking, and it was almost like I was having a seizure. And I was diagnosed with extreme depression and anxiety because not only for the 14 years that I had before, my God, I really haven't shared this story because I got so good about lying about it because I always thought people would judge me or feel some kind of way or withhold opportunities if they knew the truth. But then something magical happened. I said, you know what, for my mental health, I refuse to be on medication. This isn't gonna work for me. So I dropped my 3 jobs and I took a front desk position getting paid $8 an hour to work at Equinox because I always loved fitness. So I did that with the hope and intention that one day I'd be a fitness instructor. I didn't know that there was a lot of things that I was gonna have to do before they would just let me teach a class. Like, you have to get a certification. You might have to learn to do it. But I was ambitious. And there was a lot of voices telling me that I couldn't. So I invited one of my really good friends over, Gabriel Lopez. And I said, I need you to come over into my house because I have a ton of like men's health magazines, and I'm gonna learn every exercise in it, and I'm gonna start training people, and then we're gonna cut up these men's health magazines, and we're gonna cover my walls with them. So I literally covered the walls of my apartment with inspiring quotes and photos of men that were killing it in the fitness business. And every time that I would have a breakdown or I felt really lost, I would just make sure I would go to my room and just look at the wall, and I would say, I could do this. I can do this. And within a year, I was teaching at 5 different gyms and boutiques, teaching over 20 classes a week. Within a year. And every week, I would write on the mirror, like, because we have mirrors so people can see their exercises. For those who haven't taken a fitness class, I mean, I'm not judging you, I'm just giving you a reference so you can understand the story. We have mirrors set up, and for my first year teaching, I would always end with the word of the week. And sometimes it would be fearless, sometimes it would be brave. Little did my students know, whatever I was working through emotionally, myself, I would put on the wall. And that was a powerful moment for me because what I realized is everything that I was afraid of and every aspect of myself that I thought people would judge me for or that they wouldn't want to be around me for was actually everything that I needed to share because it connected me to so many people. Because I've been abused, I can connect to abused people. Because I'm gay, I can connect to people who have experienced extreme homophobia. Because I am black, I can express all types of rage about how I feel growing up as a black man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in Texas with family in Mississippi and family in Arizona and family in Georgia, okay? And there's 3 things I want you to take away from this. The first thing is, I didn't even need this. God just guided my tongue. That was beautiful. 3 things that I want you to take away from everything that I just said. Number 1, if you have a goal, if you have a vision, if you see yourself doing something, make a physical manifestation of it in front of you. Now, you ain't gotta be crazy like me and cover your walls. And I had just started dating Mark too. He came to my apartment, I was like, what the is this? And he kept dating me, so that was great. But, but you don't have to go that crazy. Maybe you just put a picture up on your lock screen, so every time you look at your phone, you're like, yes, that's what I want for myself. Keep a vision in front of you. Number 2, and you can write this down, you can tweet this, make this your mantra. Don't ever dim your light because you are shining brightly enough to illuminate someone else's insecurities. So if you didn't catch that, I'm gonna say it again. Don't ever dim your light because you are shining brightly enough to illuminate someone else's insecurities. We can look at the polls and we can say all the different ways this election went down and all the different reasons why it didn't happen the way we wanted it to happen. But if you want to really break down fear and break down racism and hatred and discrimination is just based in fear. That's all it is. And there's nothing scarier than living your true, authentic lives. And ain't nobody better at doing that than gay people, so we get a lot of slack for that. And it's true. Is it not the truth? So someone who's afraid to authentically be themselves will look at someone who is happy, freely living as God has intended them to live, and feel a certain kind of way about it. Don't dim your light. And last but not least, final piece I want to leave with you, which has been the story of my life. Every single thing that you've been afraid to share, every broken little piece about you didn't happen to you. It happened for you. It happened to prepare you to pick up your feet and then be prepared for whatever else life is throwing at you, right? This year has been incredible for my career. There's some really cool things that you guys are about to see that I can't really say. But I can say this. I tried on a lot of different people before I tried on Matthew. And as soon as I tried on Matthew, my whole world opened up. So, my name is Matthew Johnson Harris. I am a survivor of homelessness. I'm a survivor of abuse. I'm a survivor of extreme homophobia. I'm a survivor of racism. I'm a survivor of anxiety and depression. And I wouldn't change one thing about my life. I wouldn't change one thing. So before I walk and we end this show, because we have 3 really empowering songs, I feel like I was taking you on an emotional journey that was mainly like this, like, oh. So I made sure that the final 3 songs were really like uplifting and send you like up. But I want to just do one thing before we go right into the next song. Can everybody stand up for me? And could you raise your fists in the air? And can you say, I own every broken piece. I own every broken piece. I own every broken piece. And now I want you to shout, we got work to do. 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 And now put your hands on your heart. But we got to lead from here. You got to lead from here. And it's got to be honest. And it has to be authentic. And it has to be loving. You are beautiful. You are powerful. And you are so much stronger than you think. Now let's go spread love around the whole damn world. Thank you.